This is Amanda Lucas, the Community Connections Coordinator for the Greater Cincinnati Regional Food Policy Council at Green Umbrella. I will be calling it the Food Policy Council moving forward. The Food Policy Council adopts the collective impact model to guide the structure of how the staff, council and committee members, and networking members collaborate to build and support a resilient regional food system. What is the collective impact model, you may ask? It is a network of community members, organizations, and institutions who advance equity by learning together, then aligning and integrating their actions to achieve population and system level change. So let's break the definition down a bit. Collective impact has two main functions. The first function is to bring a variety of and hopefully equitably represented individuals, organizations, and services from the community into a collaborative where critical and constructive conversation and decision making takes place. As you can see from the network map on this slide, the collaborative is made up of a variety of players involved in the community or system the collaborative represents. The variety of roles involved shown on the slide is not an exhaustive list, and additional community members can always be better represented. The variety of roles who create the collaborative can also be members in the population served by the collaborative. The members of the population should see changes and impact from the collaborative's work, which is demonstrated on the next slide. The diagram here and on the next slide can be misleading because collective impact isn't a linear one-way influence, but rather a back and forth cycle as the decision-making and impact processes are monitored and evaluated. The second function of a collective impact model is the translation of the decision-making process into actionable steps that lead to impacts at the population and systems levels. The system level in question is the policies and programs that guide the Greater Cincinnati regional food system. This level includes policy and program makers at city, state, and sometimes federal levels. The population level in question is the producers, consumers, and workers who support both. It is the collaborative's role to help ensure that implementation and/or changes of policies and programs align with the population level's needs. In this slide, you can see that the collaborative has an impact on the systems and population level changes through deliverables. Deliverables is a common word in the business and nonprofit sectors, and it means goals promised within a specific time frame. We should note that changes in the system and population have an impact on the collaborative, which requires adaptation and flexibility in the work we do. The collective impact model has roles within its framework. This slide demonstrates the different roles. I will be discussing the roles and how they apply to the Food Policy Council in a second video of this series, if you can call a two-parter a series. But please note, a collaborative can only function effectively if it has formality and structure to it. All members of the Food Policy Council have a role within the collaborative. It is not a hierarchy of importance among the roles. All of the roles help efficiently delegate tasks that drive the impact. Now, how is it decided what issues need to be addressed? Before any impact can be made, population and systems level issues are discovered through quantitative and/or qualitative data collection within the population. The results of the research inspire solutions rather than the solutions inspiring the research. I will discuss more about the research completed by the Food Policy Council in the second video. The Collective Impact Forum, an organization that provides resources on this model, notes other key points that we should keep in the forefront of our implementation. So take a moment to read through the additional points about the collective impact model. There are some dangers to avoid when using the collective impact model. I will provide 9 dangers while giving examples of how these dangers could apply to the Food Policy Council. There is the danger of strategic drift. Systems and population level changes can take several years to accomplish. During this time, the Food Policy Council should remain focused on building a resilient regional food system that includes supporting the producers, the consumers, and everyone in between. The backbone staff helps keep the council members on track by providing continual reference to the strategic plan. There is also a chance of a culture drift. Members can serve terms of 1 to 3 years on the council. During membership changes and onboarding, we will have shifts in individual priorities. However, the central culture of the council, where the perspective is through the lens of the entire regional food system, must remain in focus to avoid culture drift. Veteran and multiple year termed council members can play a big role in the alignment of this culture. We want to avoid treating work groups like committees. We call our work groups committees, but please do not be mistaken. Committees are where delegation happens. The council and committee members should take action during projects. There is an opportunity for a lack of accountability and transparency. The lack of one can lead to the lack of the other. If everyone within the collaborative is not communicating with transparency during the limited meeting times, then the motivation to be accountable and actionable is lost. The collaborative is a team where each individual is an equal member. We must make space for open communication and the resulting actions. There's also potential for political and funder hijacking. This is directly applicable and something the backbone staff is responsible for managing within our collaborative. The Food Policy Council is funded by project-specific grants that will influence the deliverables the Food Policy Council can achieve in the next year. However, avenues of funding that are less project-specific are being developed and hopefully implemented within the next couple of years. We also want to avoid managing a network like an organization. Though Green Umbrella is a nonprofit organization and is managed as such, the Food Policy Council and its committees are not an organization with a hierarchy and a boss. For example, the director of the Food Policy Council is not in charge of the council members and will not have a voting right on the full council. We have to be careful of setting insufficient timeframes. I think this one is something we are all guilty of. We need to be realistic about how long impact and change will take. We'll celebrate the small wins while we continue working on long-term goals. We want to avoid a lack of adaptive leadership. We have to be adaptable when we work with and advocate for policies. Policymakers get voted out, get voted to a higher office, or shift their priorities. New laws that impact the work we do requires us to be willing to shift with the times. We all have to be somewhat comfortable with developing creative solutions when things inevitably change. From these dangers, we can learn lessons and get better as a collaborative. Take a moment to read 3 of those lessons found in the purple box on this slide. Here are some references and resources, including a podcast episode from Collective Impact Forum over the 10 dangers of collective impact. Thank you so much for listening. Reach out to me if you have any questions.